When someone leaves your life without an explanation, it doesn't just hurt your heart, it shakes your soul. There is a special kind of pain that comes from unanswered questions, from silence where closure should have been, from suddenly waking up one day and realizing that the person who once mattered so much is now just gone. No warning, no final conversation, no goodbye, just absence. And your mind keeps replaying the same questions again and again. What did I do wrong? Was I not enough? Did they ever care? Why didn't they at least explain? This kind of pain doesn't scream. It sits quietly inside you, heavy, confusing, and exhausting. And the hardest part is not even their leaving, it's the not knowing why. Because the human heart can handle loss, but it struggles deeply with uncertainty. When there is no explanation, the mind creates its own, and most of the time those explanations blame you. But here is the truth you need to hear today, even if it's difficult to accept right now. When someone leaves your life without an explanation, it is not always rejection. Many times it is divine protection. This is where God steps in, quietly, powerfully, invisibly, and begins working in ways you cannot yet see. God rarely removes people loudly. He doesn't always announce his reasons. He doesn't sit you down and explain every detail of his plan. Sometimes he simply allows someone to walk away not because you are unworthy, but because staying would have cost you your peace, your self-respect, your future, or even your faith. You see, not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay forever. Some people are lessons, not lifetimes. Some are chapters, not the entire story. And when God sees that your heart is too attached, too hopeful, too forgiving to walk away on your own, he allows distance to do what strength could not. That sudden silence you didn't deserve? That unanswered message? That disappearance without explanation? It often happens when God knows that if the truth were spoken, it would hurt you even more, or worse, you would still choose to stay and break yourself trying to fix something that was never meant to be fixed. When someone leaves without explanation, it feels disrespectful, cruel, and unfair. And you're right, on a human level it is. But on a spiritual level, something much deeper is happening. God sees conversations you never heard, intentions you never noticed, and future pain you were not prepared for. He sees what happens behind closed doors. He sees what people plan in silence. And when he removes someone suddenly, it's often because their presence in your future would have destroyed something sacred inside you. God does not always remove people because they are bad. Sometimes he removes them because they are not aligned with where he is taking you. And misaligned connections always lead to emotional damage, no matter how much love exists. One of the hardest truths to accept is this. Some people leave without explanation because they don't have the courage to face the truth. It takes strength to communicate honestly. It takes maturity to say goodbye with respect. When someone disappears instead, it often reveals their emotional limitations, not your worth. God allows them to exit quietly because their silence speaks louder than any explanation ever could. Their inability to communicate is already your answer. Their avoidance is already your closure. Their disappearance is the clarity you were praying for, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. You may be wondering why God didn't stop them, why he didn't make them stay, why he allowed you to love someone who would eventually leave without explanation. But what if God's goal was never to make them stay? What if his goal was to show you what you deserve, by first showing you what you should never accept again? Sometimes God allows pain not to punish you but to prepare you, not to weaken you but to awaken you. That heartbreak you didn't see coming? It's often the moment where your growth truly begins. Before the pain, you tolerated things you shouldn't have. You explained away red flags. You accepted confusion as normal. You mistook inconsistency for mystery. And God, in his quiet wisdom, knew that comfort would keep you stuck, but loss would make you evolve. When someone leaves without explanation, it forces you to confront something uncomfortable, your attachment. Not just to them, but to the version of yourself you were when you were with them. Sometimes you weren't just holding on to the person, you were holding on to the hope, the fantasy, the future you imagined. And God knows that you cannot step into your next chapter while clinging to an old dream that no longer fits. So he allows the door to close suddenly, not to confuse you, but to prevent you from standing in the doorway forever, waiting for something that was never coming. God steps in through silence because silence creates reflection. In the absence of their voice, you finally hear your own. In the emptiness they leave behind, you begin to rediscover parts of yourself you had neglected. Your strength, your boundaries, your intuition, your worth. Pain has a strange way of stripping away illusions. When someone leaves without explanation, the illusion of control disappears. You realize you cannot force someone to choose you. You cannot beg clarity from someone committed to confusion. And in that realization, something powerful happens. You stop chasing answers outside of yourself and start finding peace within. It's important to understand this. God does not work on your timeline. You want instant closure. You want immediate understanding. You want the pain to end quickly. But God works in layers. First He removes, then He reveals, and finally He restores. The removal hurts the most because it feels like loss. The revelation comes later, often quietly, through moments of clarity, unexpected peace, or new understanding. And restoration doesn't always mean bringing the person back. Most of the time, it means bringing you back to yourself. There is a reason God didn't allow them to explain. An explanation might have kept you emotionally tied. You would have analyzed every word, replayed every sentence, and searched for loopholes. You might have tried to change yourself to fit their reasons. But silence cuts clean. Silence forces detachment. Silence, painful as it is, frees you faster than false closure ever could. God knew that if you heard their explanation, you might have stayed stuck in what-ifs. Instead, He gave you something stronger, a clear ending, even if it came without words. And let's be honest, some explanations are not worth hearing. Some truths are not healing, they are traumatizing. Sometimes people leave not because you are lacking, but because they are conflicted, afraid, or chasing something that has nothing to do with you. God protects you from internalizing explanations that would have damaged your self-worth. He protects your heart by letting their actions speak instead. And actions never lie. If you're watching this right now, chances are you're still struggling to let go. You're still hoping for a message. Still waiting for clarity. Still wishing they would come back and explain everything. But hear this carefully, if God wanted them to explain, He would have allowed it. If He wanted them to stay, they would have stayed. The fact that they left without explanation is not an accident. It is alignment. Alignment between what you want and what you need, even if those two things feel painfully different right now. God steps in not to give you what you desire, but to give you what will heal you. Desire is emotional. Healing is spiritual. And the path to healing often begins with loss. The person who left without explanation taught you something invaluable. You deserve consistency, communication, and clarity. You deserve someone who stays, not someone who disappears when things get real. And one day you will look back at this moment and realize that the unanswered questions were actually unanswered prayers. Prayers that God answered by removing what wasn't meant to remain. There will come a day when you no longer feel the urge to check your phone for their name. A day when the silence no longer feels heavy. A day when you feel grateful, not bitter. That day doesn't come through understanding them, it comes through understanding yourself. Through realizing that God did not abandon you when they left. He stepped closer. He held you through the confusion. He strengthened you through the pain. And He redirected your life toward something, or someone, who will not leave you wondering where you stand. So if someone left your life without explanation, don't chase them for answers. Don't beg the universe for closure from someone who couldn't give it while they were present. Instead, trust the silence. Trust the removal. Trust that God sees what you cannot. And most importantly, trust that what left was never meant to destroy you, it was meant to release you. Because sometimes, the greatest act of love God shows you is not giving you what you asked for, but taking away what would have eventually broken you. And remember this. People who are meant to stay will never make you question your worth. They will not disappear without explanation. They will not leave you confused about where you stand. God removes people who cannot love you properly so that one day you are available, emotionally, spiritually, fully, for the love that will not require you to lose yourself to keep it. If you're hurting right now, take comfort in this truth. God stepped in the moment they stepped out. And what He has planned for you next will make sense of everything you're going through today. There is a phase after they leave that no one talks about. It's the phase where the shock fades but the ache stays. Where you're no longer crying every minute, but you feel empty in moments you never felt empty before. This is the phase where you start questioning not just them, but yourself, your worth, your judgment, your ability to trust. And this is exactly where God begins His deepest work. Because when someone leaves without explanation, the first wound is emotional, but the second wound is spiritual. You begin to wonder why God allowed it. Why He let you love deeply only to be abandoned silently. Why He didn't protect you sooner. But what you don't see yet is that God did protect you, just not in the way you expected. God's protection doesn't always look like comfort. Sometimes it looks like separation. Sometimes it looks like unanswered prayers. And sometimes it looks like losing someone you begged to keep. You see, God never removes people randomly. Every removal has a purpose. Every silence has a meaning. And every ending without explanation is a lesson in disguise. When someone leaves without explanation, God is teaching you discernment. He is showing you that love without communication is not love. it is attachment. That affection without respect is not intimacy, it is imbalance. And that staying silent instead of being honest is not kindness, it is emotional immaturity. God is slowly training your heart to recognize what is real and what is familiar. Because many people don't fall in love with someone, they fall in love with the feeling of not being alone. And God refuses to let you build your life around someone who was only meant to fill a temporary void. This is why the exit felt so sudden. Because the attachment was deeper than the alignment. When someone disappears without explanation, your ego wants answers. But God wants growth. Answers would have kept you focused on them. Growth forces you to focus on yourself. God knows something important. If they had explained, you would have tried to understand them. You would have empathized. You would have excused their behavior. And eventually you would have blamed yourself. So instead, God allowed silence, because silence does not negotiate. Silence does not manipulate. Silence ends cycles. And cycles needed to end. You may not realize it yet, but that relationship was slowly teaching you to accept less than you deserved. Less clarity. Less consistency. Less emotional safety. And God will never let you stay in a place where your spirit keeps shrinking just to keep someone close. That's why they had to leave. Not because you were weak, but because you were too strong to stay trapped. There is another truth that hurts to accept. Some people leave without explanation because they knew you deserved better than what they could offer. Instead of rising to meet you, they chose to run. Instead of growing, they chose comfort. Instead of honesty, they chose escape. God removes people who are unwilling to grow with you, because your destiny requires evolution, not excuses. And here's the part no one tells you. When someone leaves without explanation, they often carry guilt they cannot face. Your presence reminded them of who they were supposed to be, and they couldn't handle that mirror. So God removed them to protect both of you. You from settling, and them from pretending. In the quiet aftermath, God begins rebuilding your inner world. He teaches you to sit with yourself, to listen to your intuition, to trust red flags instead of romanticizing them. He teaches you that peace is not boring, it is healing. That consistency is not dull, it is safe. And that love should never make you anxious about where you stand. This is why after someone leaves without explanation, you begin to change. Your tolerance lowers. Your standards rise. Your patience becomes selective. That's not bitterness. That's wisdom. God is slowly preparing you for a connection that will not confuse you. A love that will not disappear. A person who will not leave you guessing. But before that blessing can arrive, God has to clear the space. And clearing the space hurts. Because empty spaces echo at first. But empty spaces are also where new things enter. If you're in the stage where you still miss them, still wonder, still feel the pull, understand this. Missing someone does not mean they were meant to stay. It only means you are human. God does not shame you for missing them. He simply asks you not to return to what He removed. Because going back would not be faith, it would be fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of starting over. Fear of trusting again. But God didn't bring you this far to leave you half-healed. He is not taking something away without preparing something greater. One day someone will choose you clearly. They will explain. They will communicate. They will stay. And when that happens, you will finally understand why this person had to leave silently. You will look back and realize, the confusion was protection. The silence was redirection. The pain was preparation. So if someone left your life without explanation, stop asking, why did they leave? And start asking, what is God teaching me? Because God doesn't close doors to punish you. He closes doors to protect your future. And the most beautiful part? What God removes never returns with the same power over you. You grow. You rise. You heal. And one day you will no longer need answers, because peace will be enough. There comes a moment, quietly, unexpectedly, when the pain no longer controls you. You still remember them, but the memory no longer bleeds. You still think of them, but the thought no longer steals your peace. This is the moment God was leading you toward all along. Not the moment when they return, but the moment when you no longer need them to. Because healing does not arrive with answers. Healing arrives with acceptance. And acceptance is where God finally reveals what the loss was preparing you for. You begin to understand that God was not separating you from love. He was separating you from confusion, from mixed signals, from emotional inconsistency, from a connection that demanded your energy but gave you anxiety in return. God never allows something to end without a purpose. Even the endings that feel cruel. Even the ones that arrive without explanation. Especially those. You see, when someone leaves silently, it forces you to build strength in a place you once depended on them to fill. You learn to sit with yourself, to self-soothe, to to validate your own feelings. This is not loneliness. This is self-restoration. And in this restoration, something powerful happens. Your heart stops begging and starts choosing. You no longer chase clarity. You demand it. You no longer tolerate emotional absence. You require presence. You no longer fear being alone. You fear losing yourself again. This is growth. God does not heal you by making the pain disappear overnight. He heals you by transforming the version of you that was wounded. Slowly, quietly, patiently. You may notice that your prayers change. You stop asking God to bring them back and start asking God to bring peace. That shift is everything. Because peace attracts what chaos never could. God begins preparing you for a love that feels safe, not intoxicating. Clear, not confusing. Consistent, not conditional. And before that love arrives, God teaches you something essential. Discernment. Discernment is knowing the difference between someone who wants you and someone who only wants access to you. Between love and attachment. Between intensity and intimacy. The person who left without explanation taught you this lesson, even if unintentionally. And here is the truth that finally settles your heart. If they were meant to walk beside you into your future, God would not have let them walk away so easily. What belongs to you will fight to stay. What is meant for you will communicate. What is aligned with you will not confuse you. God never asks you to beg for what He has already assigned to you. And when the right person enters your life, you will feel the difference immediately. There will be no guessing, no anxiety, no wondering where you stand. Their presence will feel like relief, not tension. Like home, not uncertainty. And in that moment, you will finally understand why God removed the last one without explanation. Because explanations are unnecessary when the truth is felt. You will not feel chosen someday, you will be chosen daily. So if you're still in the healing stage, hear this clearly. You are not behind. You are not broken. And you are not forgotten. You are being prepared. Prepared to receive love without fear. Connection without confusion. And peace without conditions. God didn't allow them to leave to punish you. He allowed them to leave so you could return to yourself. And the most beautiful part? What God brings next will not require you to lose yourself to keep it. It will stay. It will speak. It will choose you clearly. Until then, rest. Trust the process. Trust the silence. Trust God. Because when someone leaves without explanation, God steps in, not to replace them, but to restore you. And restoration is always the beginning of something far greater than what you lost.